He prospered this. God created Adam. Adam is a name in Hebrew and it means human being. And this shows us the first language God communicated to human beings is in Hebrew. And the first language human beings were speaking is Hebrew. Then God created Eve and commanded Adam a Hebraic commandment noted in Genesis chapter 2 verse 16 through 17, which proves us one of the values of Hebrew ethnicity is righteousness. During then, the intent of God for the world was the Hebrew world, as we see in Genesis chapter 1 verse 28. Nevertheless, Adam as well as Eve, who died thousands of years ago, broke the commandment of God and went away from the way of God, as we see it in Genesis chapter 3. Then Cain killed his brother Abel in Genesis chapter 4 and went away from the way of God. Then human beings continued, but because their deed was evil, God hated them and wanted them eliminated from the surface of the earth. So in Genesis chapter 6 and 7, God rained the great flood and killed all the Canaanites. But the household of Noah was preserved because Noah was a righteous man. Then the human beings continued until Genesis chapter 11. All of them were speaking Hebrew language. But in Genesis chapter 11, as we see it there, they gathered and started building Babel, which God hated. Thus God confounded their tongue and made them Gentile nations who speak various languages and scattered them to various parts of planet Earth. Nevertheless, Hebraism continued with Abraham the Hebrew, as noted in Genesis chapter 14, verse 13. The Hebraism is noted in Genesis chapter 17, verse 3 through 17. Then it continued in Leviticus chapter 24, verse 22, Numbers chapter 9, verse 14, chapter 15, verse 16, verse 29 through 30, Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 10 through 13, Ezekiel chapter 44, verse 9, then Acts chapter 1, verse 8. In Acts chapter 1, verse 8, our Hebrew Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus, chose and appointed, trained, appointed, anointed 12 Hebrew apostles and appointed them to teach various Gentile nations about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as noted in Genesis chapter 3, Exodus chapter 3, verse 6, the God of Hebrews, Exodus chapter 5, verse 3, the God of Israel, Exodus chapter 24, verse 12, verse 9 through 12. Then Hebraism continued, as noted in Acts chapter 2, chapter 15, verse 5. Hebraism continues, as noted in Zechariah chapter 14, verse 12 through 16. When our Hebrew Messiah Yeshua Jesus comes for the second time to Israel, to the state of Israel, he says, verse 12, and there shall be the plague with which God will strike all the people who fought against Israel. Their flesh shall dissolve while they stand on their feet. Their eyes shall dissolve in their sockets, and their tongues shall dissolve in their mouths. It shall come to pass in that day that a great panic from God will be among them. Everyone will seize the hand of his neighbor and raise his hand against his neighbor's hand. So shall also be plague on the horse, on the mule, on the camel, on the donkey, and all the cattle, that will be in those campus, so shall the plague be. And it comes to pass that everyone who is left of all the nations who came against Israel shall go up from year to year to worship the King, the God of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. After Yeshua Jesus punished the various countries, the enemies of Israel, by plague, the remaining people, all of them would become Hebraists. At the time, the world becomes Hebraist. There is no Christian, no Jew, no any other religion. All of them becomes Hebraist. We are Hebraists, we will continue Hebraists. The Feast of Tabernacle is not in Christianity, therefore don't ever think there is Christianity there. But it's in Hebraism. We celebrate it now and will continue. So the world becomes a Hebraic world at the time and on. Hebraism, when the world is over, Hebraism continues, as noted in Revelation chapter 21, verse 12 and 14. Therefore, it is we, Hebraists, who have the right for planet Earth. And if there exists any planet habitable by human beings, it is all ours, because it is what God has created for us, we Hebraists. Planet Earth, planet of Hebraists. I'm Dr. Mekbib.